Alrighty. Different time of day today. It's actually still Saturday. And we already did an hour today. But I just completed a shit pile of tasks outside in the rain and the hail. And I've actually got a pot of boiling water going on out there with a propane torch. I'm boiling off the skull of that deer that I just harvested. I know, a little redneck for some of you people who don't understand, but gotta clean that sucker up so it doesn't start to rot and stink up the inside of the shop. So, Sarah's gone to do some shopping, and then we're gonna decorate the Christmas tree this evening. So I'm gonna hang out here for a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna have to text her and tell her what I'm up to. Actually, she's not home yet. Me and Adventure Dog beat the crap out of each other outside. I don't know how many times. It's so hilarious. I know it's probably being a bad dad. I don't give a shit. Me and the dog love each other and have fun. She's big. And we fight real rough. Like, we play real rough. Like, borderline, somebody might get scared and think she's trying to rip my arm off. But it makes me frickin' laugh. Sarah just shakes her head. But that crazy dog, all she wants to do is play fight with me. That's it. A lot of the time. It makes me laugh. I'm in. I'm down. But it gets kind of scary sometimes. I gotta shut her down. Anyway, give me 1 second. I'll hear the horses. My mom might be home. Hold on a minute. So here we go. What am I doing? Laptop's in the house. I'm not using that lens, that camera, and this microphone. I'm using my Canon R... What the hell is it? R7? But it's on the microphone. I think it's pretty clear. We'll see what the difference is in a minute. One of these days, I'll get right on top of my shit and I'll get it set up in here semi-professionally, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, what do we got? That's right, too. Randall Brooks. Thank you for that coffee mug, man. I appreciate that. Big time. I had that stuck in here to remind me of who sent that. Got it. Now I have a handful of stuff. This is all going to be emails. None of me babbling, alright? I'll try not to. Here's a big pile of stuff from Molly, our dear friend Molly, who was dear friends with the late, great Bobby Short. Okay, that's private for us. Now let's read this. Molly, you didn't say whether or not to read any of this, so there you go. I'm going to read it. Okay, so I get an email. Okay, we got that magazine from you. Appreciate it big time. Looking forward to being able to sit down and have some time to read it. Bobby Short, had at least 2 or 3 more books to write. We deleted some stuff from the de facto Sasquatch to use in later books. So, this is one such item. Please forgive me if I've sent it before. I'm making a new stack to send. Alright. Note taken. Now that is probably all of this. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, Molly edited Bobby Short's book, the one she sent to us. It's never been published, and we read all of it here. Now here's the first 2-page note. Steve, I've been in the club and no return technically since I was 9. That stupid movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, really screwed me up. Until then, I had zero fear of being outside in the evening or early morning hanging out with all the animals in my backyard. Something deep inside me told me that movie wasn't made up. My dad laughed at me and said, "Don't worry, you're not in Arkansas." And after that, I no longer wanted to sleep outside in summer in my sleeping bag. Unbeknownst to me, Dad took me camping to Kangaroo Lake, about 100 miles as the crow flies from Willow Creek, California. every late August. We live 6 hours south in the San Francisco Bay Area, and as the years passed, I tried to forget my fear, though it's never left me. I've seen rock piles on the road to Kangaroo. I didn't like going to the bathroom at night by myself. Maybe August isn't their time there. Though, one summer I was at Kangaroo with a boyfriend. We hiked up on part of the Pacific Crest Trail that went around the lake. And at the end, as we were getting close to come back down, my boyfriend yelled, "Run." I asked why. He said he thought he heard a bear. And all I know is there was a feeling of urgency to get down that hill towards the lake. Another time at a mining claim boyfriend had west of Eureka, California. I was panning in the stream. Had my 16 gauge next to me. I heard what I can only describe as slapping rocks. The boyfriend thought I was nuts. I insisted we leave. And fast forward to former Green Beret boyfriend. Well, he'll never be a former, more like semi-retired. We dated for 6 years. He not only believed me, but has imparted me to some accounts which he has given the green light to repeat to you, as long as it isn't in email form. Yep, he doesn't trust the alphabets at all. When he was on leave, he was camping in Big Sur, probably around mid-1980s. They had sorry, there's a couple words here. You're doing great by handwriting. I'm reading pretty smooth, but I'm stuck right here. They had and be like bathrooms with tall ceilings and windows that open at the top. All right, Adobe-like? I think that's it. They had Adobe-like bathrooms with tall ceilings and windows that open at the top. As he was doing his business, he heard breathing coming from that window. So, being a Green Beret in shape, made his way out and around to where this was coming from. And he came face to face with a Sasquatch. He wasn't paying attention to where he came from, only on the window. He said his eyes widened. Christ. Bigfoot made... Christ. Boyfriend made eye contact. Chris? Oh my God. Sorry, you guys. He said his eyes widened. Chris plus Bigfoot made eye contact. Talked to him for over 15 minutes. I know it sounds completely crazy, but he did. He's on the spectrum. He thinks that's why he was so good in the military. Focused. Never took anything personal. Did very well. Was a great soldier. He would never lie to me. I've also heard him recount his story to a man who owns a store up in the mountains of Big Basin. Details went about the same as many that you've read. Same hair color, build, about 7 to 9 feet tall. Chris said it was probably juvenile. Chris talked to, quote, him, end quote, but no response. Other than when he tried to take a step forwards, the juveniles, its eyes got big, like scared. So Chris backed off. Chris ended up saying, okay, bye, then turning really quick, like to leave, but looked back fast and it was gone. No something moving, no crunching, no, there's a couple words here tough. I'm sorry, Molly, this is tough. No breaking of just gone. Okay. In other words, it just disappeared, gone, no moving, no noise, no nothing, gone, disappeared. This next one is related to the portal stories of dinosaurs, well, on an unrecognized op for our dear government. Chris was in South America. See? Sometimes I don't read that smooth, and we get it. At one point in his OP, not sure what part, only in the jungle is what I got, he came upon one of our government installations. It was for holding. It was for dinosaurs? Yes, the big kind. The only time I asked a question was the little ones or the big ones. Big ones was his answer at the time. Wasn't sure of the portals, only though they were being bred like in Jurassic Park. What? After hearing you read about the truck driver who saw a portal open in the middle of nowhere while he was driving a big rig and saw a dinosaur come out. That story flashed in my head. I personally now think our government is capturing dinosaurs, other creatures from portals. Not lab mixing. I moved to Sierra Vista, Arizona 8 years ago. Big mistake. I hate the dry hot. Yes, by Fort Huachua. Pronounced Wachua. Wachuca. Sorry, it's Indian. I can't get away from them. And here's the kicker. I'm actually looking at moving back to California, 5 hours north of San Francisco, which will put me right in the center of Acton, Eureka, California. It has my two most hated and feared nemesis, poison oak and Sasquatch. Steve sent you an email a while back before you got your eye infection, letting you know you have an invitation to stay here on your travels through the southeast. Offer still stands. Southeast or south coast? Southeast? Offer still stands, although I think you're staying put for a while unless all heal. Unless all hell breaks loose up in Canada-stan. I have people in Florida too. We need to network if things go bad. When I left for California in 2015, I lived in my truck camper, traveled 18 states. I'm surprised during that time, November to April 2014, I never heard anything bother my camp. I was in the Everglades to the Appalachian Mountains, West Virginia too, back in the hills. God was with me. Jesus always protected me. I'm closer in my relationship with him now than more than ever. I firmly believe that he is watching over me and your family. Tell Sarah to call on him on her walks with Adventure Dog. See if that helps. Keep my info for future use. Looking forward to meeting y'all someday. You have my permission to share my stories. Just leave out Chris and my names, please. I'm sure he's watched your channel. He knows things about our government that he'll never share, so he wants to avoid his name getting put out. Your friend. Blank blank. Gotcha. Gotcha. Appreciate that. Big time. And I'm picking up what you're putting down. I appreciate your old friend Chris. I'd love to hear from him. I'd love to hear everything he knows. It's a shame people take things to the grave and are scared of the government. Isn't it? I'm not judging, I'm just saying. It kind of sucks. Now, hi Steve. The next time someone tries to give you grief about your 3D memory wall, it'd be interesting to hear their views on the catacombs beneath cathedrals all over the world. 3D memory wall. 3D memory wall. I guess she's referring to my antlers on the wall out in the shop here. Well, it'd be interesting to hear their views on the catacombs beneath cathedrals all over the world. Millions of our ancestral human bones are placed in interesting patterns, artistic displays used as building material, etc. Actually, cathodes may have actually been free energy generating stations in the previous civilization, hidden from us, of course. The amazing frequencies of their church bells and organs were actually used to heal our organs in a wiser civilization. Perhaps bones have qualities we have been encouraged to forget. Those catacombs go on for miles, and the church now charges money to see them. Wow, so respectful, huh? I really miss hearing you say, here's one more from the late, great Bobby Short. so I'm putting together a packet to send to you soon. Because she was such a recluse and fearful towards the end of her journey, I told her I would do the promotion of her book. You helped me keep that promise, Steve, and I'm grateful. Thank you. It's wonderful that you are keeping her name and her contributions alive. And to such a large audience. People seem to enjoy them. I will get some pages on the way to you soon. Much love to you and Sarah. You guys are a dynamic duo. I'm so glad to know you. Hugs. Another little piece here. Milton William Cooper, former U.S. Navy officer, Information Department. A basic truth can be used as foundation for a whole mountain of lies. If we dig deep enough into the mountain of lies and bring out that truth and place it on top of the mountain of lies, then the entire mountain will collapse under the weight of that truth. Everything we have been taught is a lie. Reality is not all what we perceive it to be. Yes. Question everything, fear nothing is a t-shirt. Picture of a t-shirt. And then she put except spiders, right? Spiders are evil. P.S. I had these shirts printed up in 2002 and they're pretty much my uniform since then. The words seem to be more relevant every year, unfortunately. The sobbing necklace is another conversation invitation, and there have been some good ones. Maybe for my next printing. Beneath fear nothing, I will add except spiders in small print. That's funny. And here's some of the pictures of the catacombs she mentioned. That is pretty frickin' nasty, right? What church does that shit? What church does that shit? How do you justify doing that? Is that not absolute hell on earth? Check this shit out. Millions of human beings' bodies. Mutilated, torn apart, categorized, and stacked in artistic form. Yeah, you're right. People that whine and snivel about a couple of deer antlers on the wall, and if they're really that upset about that shit, well, where's the concern about this shit? How about all these skulls? What? God, that is so absolutely dark. That is so dark. Gosh. I don't even know which way the top, I guess, probably goes this way. Look at this shit. Human bones. Forever. Human bones for miles. Who were these people? Who killed every single one of them? Right? Yeah, that is so freaking creepy. Whoa. Oh my God, that is so freaking nasty. Who is the original son of a bitch? Who put the first bone in that room? Who designed it? That's absolutely dark. God. So nasty. Holy shit. You only need two tools in life, WD-40 and duct tape. If it doesn't move and should, use WD-40. If it moves and shouldn't, use duct tape. Sounds about right to me. Or a bullet. Okay, what's this one? 2 pages from the late, great Bobby Short, I believe. It's the last of it. The de facto Sasquatch, Bobby Short. Hypertrichosis. The medical word does see an occasional hairy human. Some of them very hairy. It's believed to be caused by a recessive gene that may or may not express itself in children when both or one parent carries the same gene. In the medical world, it's called Ambras syndrome or hypertrichosis. At some point in the history of the Sasquatch, there must have been confined breeding to produce such heavy bodily hair. Generations of carriers of the recessive gene for hypertrichosis, perhaps small populations of these life forms, were so inbred that future generations would naturally be assured of carrying the recessive gene for hypertrichosis. Bodily hair, or hypertrichosis, as I understand it, does not always express itself in children of carriers. It may or may not. I have reports of Bigfoot being observed with hardly any hair to heavily haired, some scantily haired, or not at all. There are reports in the data of a massively built male Sasquatch with no upper extremity hair, but he was haired from the hips to the ankles, and the hair was quite long and flowing. Cases exist that describe bare chests, bare faces, and bearded females. Close-ups show us that Patty is bearded, and she has missing hair on parts of her body. In fact, we can see she is fully Caucasian in the bare places. Certainly, we see other signs of inbreeding besides the recessive gene for hair. Examples would include splayed toes, extra digits, 6 fingers and/or 6 digits on the foot in snow and mud tracks. We also see missing digits which may be caused from the danger of living barefoot in the wild, or may be a product of inbreeding too. It'll take extensive DNA analysis to confirm the possibilities. It is human hair, not animal fur. I'm personally just now coming to terms with the idea that there are other entities or life forms in the wild woods being confused with the Sasquatch. More and more I receive physical descriptions of an entity or life form that definitely conflicts with what is expected to be a Sasquatch description. So then, are there other life forms out there being confused with the Sasquatch? We would be foolish to close our thinking to such possibilities. For example, the glowing red eyes, long thought to be Sasquatch, cannot be if the Sasquatch is as close to human as DNA suggests. The human physical eye is incapable of projecting a red eye glow. We must consider that even though it looks at brief glimpse like a Sasquatch, runs upright on all fours like a Sasquatch, it probably is something else. The claim is also that it has fur, not hair. I dislike the use of the term dog man or monkey man, but it fits. We no doubt are in the infancy of DNA study. There's so much to learn. So many unknown life forms to analyze. Look how long we've known about the Neanderthals, only now have we just discovered they cooked their food. Scientists have only discovered particles of cooked food in Neanderthal teeth. I think we have to anticipate a lot of time before we know the answers to man of the burning questions. The photo is a Mexican gentleman tagged the Wolfman. This is representative of a case of hypertrichosis in the human male. It's one hairy dude. I've seen a lot of these people. Actually, you can look online and find them. That would be quite the sentence, would it not, in today's society of being judged, ridiculed, picked on, laughed at, tormented to death and suicide lots of times. These days, not too many people just pass that dude on the street, not even glance. And kids can be cruel, right? Kids can be little monsters. I don't know why. Isn't that weird how kids can be so nasty to each other before they grow up and mature? And there we go. Appreciate you as usual. Keep it coming. You got more that you want to share with the world from the late, great Bobby Short. This is a place to do it. Always appreciated. And thank you. Who's next? No title in this email. Starting off with your name, I hope I'm allowed to use it. Hi, Steve. Willie Schumann here. I'm from Central Missouri. It's funny when you're down there's Missouri. When you read it, and you're in Canada stands, Missouri. I've been watching your videos for some time now and have decided to share my up-close and personal experience with you. Alright. Several years ago, I went on a wild hog hunt in Arkansas. Chittister, Arkansas. About 30 miles north of Shreveport, Louisiana. Me and my hunting party of 12 guys. We stayed in a cabin about a mile back in the woods, off of the road, miles from town. Has a river right off the back deck of the cabin. Waukesha River, also known as the Little Missouri. It was a great time. Plenty of beer was drank. Good time with good friends. It was on our last night at camp Everybody was wore out and went to bed fairly early for our drive home the next day. It was around 3 a.m. in the morning when I heard the generator cut off. It was running a freezer we had our hogs in, so I figured it ran out of gas. So I stumbled outside to go check it out. All the time remembering of how our guides told us and warned us not to wander too far from the cabin at night alone. I never thought much about it, honestly. That would put my radar on. As I stumbled out to check the generator, I made my way to where the generator was located, and I realized it was gone. At that very instant, I had a feeling of total panic and could smell a musky skunk smell. Every hair on my body was standing on end. So, I quickly got back to the cabin. And as I laid back down, not sure what just happened, I looked around in the cabin to see if one of the crew wasn't messing around with me. They were all snuggled up, sleeping like a rock. So I laid back down and tried to get some sleep. The bed I was laying in was right beside this large window, about 4 foot by 4 foot, approximately 6 feet above outside ground level. And as I started to fall back asleep, I heard something hitting the wall, the outside wall. And it was a loud thump, like someone punching the cabin. It was moving around, hitting in different spots all over the perimeter of the cabin. So I grabbed my .45-70 rifle and snuggled up a little tighter. The noise stopped, so I fell back asleep. About an hour passed when I heard a smack on the window right next to me. I looked out the window, and I could make out a silhouette of what looked like a large man, crouched down, looking directly at me, eye to eye. As I set up to get a better look and really study what I was seeing, this thing stood up and really smacked the cabin and shook it, to be exact. And it let out the most god-awful scream roar. It scared the living shit out of me. About gave me a heart attack. I've never heard anything like that before and never want to again. The next day our guide came down to the cabin. He had found the generator in the road about half a mile away. It looked like it had been drugged behind a truck. I just chalked it up to a bunch of kids messing with us. I told a few people about it, but everyone thinks I'm crazy. I now realize what I saw. I don't go out in the woods like I used to. It sticks in the back of my mind. Anyhow, thanks for listening and sharing everyone's experiences. Yeah, it does. It never leaves you. It's like it happened yesterday for every minute for the rest of your existence. No, you forgot to mention who else heard that shit. There's 12 of you in there. Are you the only one? Or did anybody else say anything? Do you guys talk about it? And I wonder what those guides know. They know something. They know something. I mean, when we had hunters up north, bush plane drop off, I never told any hunter not to venture far in the dark cabin at night, ever. And we got grizzly bears running around there like mice. I never thought to tell anybody that shit. Your guide knows. That guide knows. Appreciate that share, man. Bigfoot telepathy versus Navy SEAL. This ought to be interesting. Hello, Steve. Please don't give my identity because of obvious reasons. My name is blank blank. SO SEAL team, blank blank blank, sniper, United States Navy. Gotcha. My story begins when I was a kid. My dad taught me everything I needed to know about surviving in the woods. He dropped me off at some wooded area, gave me a survival knife, same as Rambo's, and said, "See you in 3 days." Just the knife, no food or water. No shit, what a hard ass. I learned to eat things that would make a billy goat puke, and how to find clean drinking water. So, enlisting and signing up in the SEAL program was a no-brainer. Sounds familiar, I might have read this a long time ago. I had to be the best. I'm afraid of no man. None. Anyone can be defeated. We were taught to have no feelings about anyone or anything on a mission except the team. Just get the job done and leave no SEAL behind. Hunting all my life and being a guide in Colorado for years, I've been in some dark holes no one has ever been. And that's where the big trophy animals are, right? It never crossed my mind once to set up camp in these areas and worry about Bigfoot. Like I said, I had no fear of anything until one night. About 2300, I'm sitting by the fire cooking up a rabbit. I used a 308 Browning BAR Safari to hunt with, and I always have my 1911 and my backup Glock 43 on me, or within reaching distance. So, as I'm waiting for the rabbit to get done, something told me someone or something was behind me. I'm very in tune with all of my senses, as you can understand being a sniper. I had my hand on my 45 as I turned around. And what I saw was two shining amber eyes, about a foot apart and at least 11 feet off the ground. I was telling my arms to draw my weapon, but they wouldn't move. I was frozen. It was only 10 feet away, but all I could see was those piercing eyes. The rest of them blended in with the darkness. Best camouflage I've ever seen or not seen. It seemed like minutes, but only seconds, I'm sure. I had an overwhelming feeling of fear like I've never experienced before. Like I wanted to run away and hide. So shaken, I'm crying in fear. After hearing some stories on your channel, I can safely now say they have the mental ability to instill this fear in your brain. Telepathy, it must be. After what seemed like an eternity, this massive beast closed its eyes, turned, and walked away. Once it did this, I could move again. I drew my weapon, but I saw nothing in the darkness. I could feel the ground vibrate each time it stepped. So it had to weigh 700 or 800 pounds. I've never felt so helpless and vulnerable in my life. It absolutely was controlling my mind. Once it was gone and I got my shit together, I packed up and I got the F out. It told me to leave, so I complied. And since then, they never stopped me from going back into the woods, just not that same area. Oh, I get it. I've never heard the knocks they do or the screaming on any occasion hunting or whenever in the woods. And when I first saw one of your videos and saw what it was about, I binged all of them. Just listening to the stories and hearing the screaming they make, that fear came back instantly. The exact same fear, like pissing my pants fear. How the F do they do that? It pisses me off. That they still had control of my fears. Just watching a video. I now live in Utah, and when I go outside, I can feel it when they're watching me or close by. Same. One day recently, two of my chihuahuas got out while I was at work. When I got home, only one came back, and those two never leave each other's side. First thing I thought was Bigfoot or coyote got my dog. So I was thinking I'm going to go bring the wrath of God upon them and kill every last one for taking. And I assumed killing my dog. 24 hours passed, and I gathered several weapons, including my Beret M107 50 cal. I was ready to go to war. Very focused, with absolutely no fear anymore of confronting and killing them all. And that night, before I was going to war, I had to work for a while and pulled up to my house about 0300. As I was backing in, I saw a glimpse of something moving out of the corner of my eye and said, "Here we go, bring it." When I turned around, there's my little dog. God, I wish she could talk. She was not hurt or anything, just happened to see me. Now, there's no way she would go in someone's car, let alone go with someone else at all. I searched my little town for hours the day prior, and she was not anywhere close, or she would have came to me. The only thing I can comprehend is they, Bigfoot, had her and let her go because they knew I was going to go ballistic on them. Maybe I'm full of shit, but I've looked at every scenario, and that's all I can come up with. Whenever I go outside, get that feeling, I mentally curse them out and tell them to stop effing with my head. It usually works after a couple of minutes, and I'm fine again. So there you go, that's my story. Sorry this is so long, but I had to tell you, get it off my chest. I've told no one about this till now. I'd like to know if anyone else has experienced the same mental control, or am I just crazy? Keep up the fight, spreading the word. Sincerely, I think you left out your name blank blank. P.S. Love to go hunting or guiding with you sometime and see if we can mentally get them to show themselves and possibly communicate with them. Let me know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've read that. I have read that before. I remember that. Now, this isn't, all right, not that one. This one is titled, My Encounter. Hey Steve, I love what you're doing, enabling others to speak about what they saw, for no personal gain for you. Also, I'm jealous of where you live, and hunting 24/7. All right. Thanks for the kind words. Anyway, here's my encounter. My name is Jason. Feel free to use my name. I'm an avid hunter, and I was at a buddy's camp in Liberty, Mississippi. I usually make a hunt late in the season with this particular person. I usually kill a good buck. I did kill Saturday morning a nice 8-point, which counted as one of his bucks. So he put me on a box stand they called the clubhouse, because it's about 8 foot by 6 foot, only 2 feet above the ground on cinder blocks. It was very cold with sleet, rain, and wind about 30 miles per hour. I only had 2 windows open, one on the left and the other on my right, watching 2 food plots. About 6 turkeys came walking into the plot to my right, and as I was watching them, their heads went up and they were looking at something behind my stand. They suddenly ran back the way they came. Left me thinking what happened, because I know they didn't smell or see me. And all of a sudden, something hit this box stand right at my back. It was so loud and hard that it shifted this big stand on the blocks. I never heard any footsteps come or leave, so I figured whatever it was standing outside, close to the door, I may add. My body was numb. I sat on the floor and peeked an eye out the corner of the open window, instead of opening this window behind me. Just so you know, I'm saying windows, but it is really plywood that you pull a rope and it opens the plywood at an outward angle, if that makes any sense. If I had to guess what could have hit the stand that hard, I would have said maybe a doe being chased by a buck. They ran into the stand at 50 miles an hour. About 10 minutes after the hit, I heard a wood knock on the ridge behind me as plain as day. I eased out of the stand and looked around the whole outside to make sure no dead deer. Nothing. I got out of there with the hair on my neck sticking straight out. The following year, my buddy who laughed at me heard a scream roar in the same area right after dark that had his little girl crying scared. He recorded it. And it is definitely too loud and long to be a human. I have another encounter I'll share at a later date. Keep doing what you're doing. God bless. All right, man. Appreciate that email. Now, you know, if you're still here listening to all of us, you know the crowd, the audience right now is saying, where's your buddy's recording? We want to hear it. I'll guarantee you they're saying that by the dozens. Let's see if, who knows, maybe your buddy's listening and he'll send it in. I don't know. Or maybe you will. Give me 1 minute. I gotta go check my boiling water, make sure it hasn't boiled away. 1 minute. All right, it's almost done. Almost done. Let's listen to this. A fellow guide and outdoorsman with spiritual connection to Sasquatch since childhood. All right, here we go. Hello, Steve. Thanks for the work you're doing to keep this subject real and no BS. I've been a big game guide since the age of 17 and an avid outdoorsman my whole life. I've been experiencing these beings since I was a child. With my first experience, I remember, was at the age of 5 or 6, with a clear and strong telepathic communication from 2 basketball orange orbs in Richmond, BC. When I later found out it was the Sasquatch. When I later found out it was the Sasquatch people. I have hours of stories with my lifelong connection to the Sasquatch people, which I share with friends and people interested in understanding them in a greater way. I will put a few experiences in an email I hope you would share. Saying this, I'm living on Salt Spring Island, and I'm heading to Vancouver Island this week to go steelhead fishing and quest into the backyard of these magnificent beings. Not having any expectations about this, and I know you have hundreds of people who want to meet you and hunt with you. If you're interested in meeting up and having a bullshit sometime this week, I'd be happy to meet up with you. I think you would be very interested in hearing my ongoing experiences with these beings and the connection they have with one's spiritual growth and consciousness. I have had countless experiences with 2 physical sightings, perhaps more, and so many strong dream experiences and countless interactions in Alberta at the family farm where my mom has also seen them twice. I have experienced them shape-shifting, and they come to me on my shamanic journeys, working with the drum and rattle. Many experiences in the Rockies around Grand Cache, Alberta. They have many ways of interacting through the birds of prey. Owls and eagles are great allies to them also. All of the wildlife in the forests. They have walked with me my whole life, and the ones I am experiencing are strong spiritual allies and guides in my life. I've been a truth seeker my whole life, and I'm very aware of the lies we have been led to believe. I also have experienced many other anomalies, such as UFOs and dogmen, and many beings of the elemental world. Being on the shamanic path for many years, as these beings have helped me greatly to remember who I am as a spiritual being. I've had the great pleasure to sit in many Native American ceremonies and been able to share my stories with elders who understand and shared their thoughts of my lifelong connection to the spirit world. The spiritual evolution of my life have opened up many doors and allowed a greater sense of understanding. Hope you'd consider meeting up with me, as I have much to share about their teachings I have gained through the experiences. If not, I totally understand and respect your time and wish you all the best on the quest for the steelhead. I'm not a wacko, and I'm a business owner, and a true Canadian hard worker and grounded person with much to share about these beings. Alright, man. I gotta mark this one as look into. I'm gonna have to get this a whole folder for these emails that I need to look into and contact the people. Look into. There's another one. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Neighbor, too. All right, we will look into this. What do we got here? This is titled... Man, is it raining out there? Holy shit. My experiences. Hello from the mountains of Oklahoma. Start with, I live at the foot of a mountain with the big woods starting just behind us. I happened onto your video with the hairy person looking over a stump. Thanks for that. It puts my mind at rest about the one I saw looking in my window, with the round face like the one in your video. The only difference was, the one looking in my window was young and gray in color. To be more exact, it was pale gray, not white but close, with very large dark eyes. I surprised it as much as it surprised me. I was walking down the hallway in my house and I saw a movement from the window in the purple bedroom. Glanced toward the movement and saw this face looking at me. I wish I would have realized what I was looking at in time, so I could have gotten a better look at the inquisitive window peeper. This was daytime. For the 20-odd years we have lived here, there has been howls, whoops, chatter, whistles, pebbles being thrown on the porch, roof, knocking on our walls, and low growls. We finally had to put up cameras in every corner of our house to keep them from knocking on the walls. They've made short work of my pears every year, but they always bring me a perfect pear, no scrapes, no teeth marks, when they have been at the pear tree, and lay it down in the drive, where I can't miss seeing it when I come out to sit on my porch to drink my coffee every morning. They do not stay here year-round. They leave mid to late October and return in May. When we still had cattle, our cows would always alert us when the hairy folks arrived by bedding down at night as close to the house as they could get, and under the nightlight. I need to add this by saying, I've now seen two. While loading my washing machine, I glanced out the window above the washer, and there in plain sight across the pond was a very black, shiny being walking back up towards the mountain. It was very shiny. So I figured it had been in the small pond in the back pasture. It was hot that day, even though it was late fall. The hair on the hairy person was long on the arms and body. I made note of a yellow bush he/she walked past, and it was at the hairy person's waist area. A few days later, when my husband and myself got the courage to walk down there, my husband stood beside the yellow bush. My husband is over 6 feet tall. The bush had come to the hairy person's waist, was over my husband's head. Whoa. We have lived with these hairy folks for well over 20 years. We have dogs and barn cats and did have cattle until just a few years ago. We have not lost any critter off this land. After getting rid of our cows, I now mow at least 8 acres. And yes, I do feel them looking at me from time to time. It is uncomfortable to say the least. But by now, I know, if they had intended harm, I would be dead. I've told my grandsons, who love to fish and ride the toys around the mountains, about them, and they had the opportunity to hear that magnificent howl. It was late at night. We were outside finishing a job when it happened. It seemed to go on forever. And when it did end, it ended with a very low guttural growl. Anyone who's ever heard it could never forget it. Nor can they say there isn't something out there. There you go. Endo email. More lifelong members of the club in our return. So many people, and we are not taught shit about this in the system. Isn't that... Yeah, you know what I'm about to say. It's just so tragic, embarrassing, shameful, disgusting. Not taught anything. Nothing. Publicly. Well, up their asses now, right? Ram it right up your lying sons of bitch. Alright, sorry. Hard ass scared to death. Hi, brother. First, I was raised on a ranch in Idaho and I understand very well the connection between a man and his horse. I've had that connection with horses in my life, and I have felt the pain that you're feeling now. We will miss Macaroni, and I'm sorry for your loss, brother. It will get easier, but it will take a lot of time. He's a hell of a cute horse. I just love watching him interact with you. Gives an older email, obviously, and I appreciate those kind words. I still miss my horse. It makes me sick. I'm a 56-year-old man now. Back in the day, I was a hard ass-kicking, hard-charging cowboy, hunter, and later in life, a framing contractor. You being in the trades, you know how hard framers are. Needless to say, I feared very little. I hunted elk as if my life depended on it. I hunted in Utah when I was young, and now in Montana. There are huge elk and deer in both states. Just too many people. At a spot when I was younger in Utah I called my honey hole. This spot had elk always and deer most of the time. The only times it was empty was when I was walking in to hunt it. Then I would get that fear that makes all the hair turn to wire. That's a great way to explain that feeling. Yeah, it nails it, doesn't it? Because when your hair turns to wire, it's very uncomfortable. I would have to talk myself down to make it into my spot. I can relate. I didn't realize that there were never elk when I felt this fear until I started to listen to your channel. Then all the memories came flooding back. It took me a while to talk to anyone about it, but eventually I told my wife and son. My wife just looked at me smiling. Mind you, she's seen me pound a pile of a-holes that desperately needed it. My son told me, no effing way, Dad. And I asked him why he thought that, and these are his words. Quote, I don't believe you, Dad. Why? I asked. Because you ain't afraid of shit, Dad. I told him I was on that mountain. He said, bullshit, I've seen you take on 10 Mexicans at a time. You don't fear anything. And I've seen too much to believe otherwise. So I dropped it. So here's the question I have. Here's the question. I've been around bears, wolves, cats, and every storm nature can throw at you, including tornadoes. And I've never felt like that, other than in that one spot occasionally when I was going into elk hunt. So what in the hell did this? Do you think it was them hairy beings that you speak of? Thank you for all you're doing. This world's a better place because of your character strength and the hard work you're putting in for other people. I don't give two shits what other people think, so use my name, Todd George. Right on, brother. Name used. Do I think it's them? You know what? I'm not there, and I can't see who did it, so I can't dictate who it was, but obviously it's a very high probability. Yeah. But who knows? Right? There's other freaky there's other crazy ass shit going on out there. So could it be them? Probably. They seem to have compassion for us. Anything that has some kind of twisted compassion for us would give us a warning, so we don't come to harm. Which that is. Right? If it was some cunning, evil, slimy piece of shit that wanted to take us, you wouldn't feel the fear. You'd probably just feel the fangs crushing your skull. Right? I mean, pure evil with ill intent does not warn its prey. It's just not how it works. You're intent on, I'm looking through the timber right now, it's last light. You know what I mean? Oh, there's a human being right there that I want to kill. Okay. He might be armed, or he might be within calling distance of the rest of his tribe. I better sneak in there stealthily, quietly, eliminate his ass, and carry on. Right? Not the other side of the coin. Oh, there's that human being. I think I'm going to try to maybe kill him, but first I'm going to make him feel terror from right where I am. And I'm not going to do anything. Doesn't mesh up. So, it might be safe to say that whoever it is, whatever it is that's inflicting that absolute terror on us, isn't a bad being. Right? If you look at it that way, if you look at how a true evil predator goes about doing their shit, they're smooth, undetectable, silent, swift. Right? Unless they're really, really twisted and they just want to fuck with you for a while, torment you and terrorize you until you almost go insane, and then dummy you. Who knows? That's a possibility too, right? But for the most part, whoever's inflicting the terror, they might not be evil. Right? They might not be evil. They might have a little compassion in their souls. And that's what enables them to give us these warnings. Weird, right? Anyway. Here I go. What day is it? I don't even know what day it is. Saturday or something, I think? Where are we on this stupid little thing? Saturday, November 23rd. So you guys will be hearing this bright and early. Sunday morning. And I shall return. Again, and again, and again, and again. I will bet you I do this until I die. I can't see stopping. I cannot ever see stopping sharing with the people and making sure the people are heard loud, word for word. I just cannot imagine not doing this. Isn't that weird? No regrets, that's for sure. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Get it to me, get it to us. Not me. Get it to us. Whatever you got, get it to us, alright? Especially now. Especially now. Later.